Republicans are working on President Trump's wish list that the president has named One Big Beautiful Bill, and it is a big one. Some of what it includes: tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, money for defense, money for border security, and boosting the child tax credit, just to name a few items in it. Right now, House Republicans are finalizing the details. In the House, there are 220 Republicans and 213 Democrats. Earlier today, I spoke with Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, nice to see you, sir.
Hey, Greta, great to be with you again.
All right, you have a big project, the big, beautiful bill that President Trump would like to see passed by Congress. But before we get to that, I always like to sort of explain a little bit of your job. And one of them is, how much of a majority do you have right now? Because that does inhibit or help you in many ways, depending on what the numbers are.
Well, we have a small majority. It's not the smallest in history anymore because we had two special elections in Florida about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So now we have a 3-vote margin in the House and a 3-vote margin in the Senate. So the beautiful thing about the budget reconciliation process, Greta, is that it doesn't require 60 votes as the threshold in the Senate. You can do it by a bare majority of 51. So as long as we can get this through the House and they can get a majority of the Republicans in the Senate, we'll be off to the races and this bill will get to the president's desk. And we hope to do that at least by July 4th, if not sooner.
So Senator John Thune has an easier lift than you do because he doesn't have to worry about the filibuster. But you have to worry about those 3 votes. I mean, you lose 3 people. You raise taxes in any way. A lot of those Freedom Caucus people, they're out the door on you.
Yeah, look, we have a big, broad, diverse coalition in the House Republican Conference. There's 220 Republican members and 220 different ideas on almost everything, right? But the one thing everybody agrees on is that we've got to accomplish this mission. We have so much of the president's priorities, the whole America First agenda, wrapped into the One Big Beautiful Bill, as he likes to call it, and as we're probably going to wind up naming the final legislation. It's everything from securing the border, as you know, to restoring American energy dominance and ensuring peace through strength and making sure we do regulatory reform and cutting red tape, but also, very importantly, is the tax piece. We have to make sure the American people don't experience the largest tax increase in U.S. history, which is what would happen by default after the end of this year if we failed in this mission. So everybody here understands the importance of that. Everyone understands they're not going to get 100% of what they want individually in this bill. This is a consensus-building exercise every day, as I like to say, and we're getting there, and I think we're going to get this thing done.
All right, so you have the cuts that to achieve your goal, but some of the cuts, like Medicaid and food stamps, which are for the poor.
Yeah, don't believe the misreporting and the hype that the Democrats are trying to put out there. Even before the bill text had come out, Greta, they were running ads and put billboards up around the country suggesting we were cutting Medicaid. It's simply not true, and we were able to get the ads pulled down because they were based on false information. The bill text was just filed on Monday, yesterday morning, and people are going through that and understanding what we're actually doing, Greta, is securing Medicaid. We're shoring it up. We're going to make sure that these essential programs are there for the people who genuinely need and deserve it. Medicaid is intended, remember, as a safety net for young pregnant mothers and the elderly and the disabled and vulnerable populations, not for able-bodied young men without dependents. Those are the kinds of people we're taking off the program, the illegal aliens who are on the program. And we're going to root out fraud, waste, and abuse, and that's where the savings are going to be found. So we're actually making the program stronger for the Americans who need it.
All right, just so I'm absolutely clear, now $1 will be cut from Medicaid from previous years. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, what we're doing is taking care of the vulnerable populations. Remember, this is President Trump's primary promise on the campaign trail, that we would not affect those essential programs for people. And that's a big thing to us. I mean, I'm one of the Republicans, as many of us are, who have a lot of Medicaid recipients in our district. We got to protect those people, but we also have to recognize that these programs are on a path to insolvency within an 8 or 9 year window. So if we don't shore them up and don't restore them to their original intent, we'll be derelict in our duty, and it'd be a great disservice to the American people.
One of the things that President Trump floated last week was to raise the income tax on earners over $2.5 million, maybe over $5 million. It was sort of a squishy number as far as, I didn't hear it directly from the president. He's walked that back, but raising taxes seems to be a non-starter with a number of members of Congress. Is there any room at all for raising a little bit of money on the people who make a fabulous amount of money each year? And I know they don't want to give it up, but is there any way, because they could really help the rest of us?
Well, when we looked at the idea that was put on the table, we recognized that it would adversely affect, for example, a lot of small business owners because of the way they do their taxes, you know, sole proprietors and people who have LLCs, those kinds of operators. And we can't afford to do that. But the good news is, Greta, we were able to meet our objectives, meet the critical savings benchmarks without raising taxes. And that's a really important thing. It's sort of been orthodoxy in our party forever. We don't want to raise taxes on anyone. And the people who are in the tax bracket that you're talking about, many of them are job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers, the ones that are helping build the economy to employ their neighbors and people in their community. We want to allow them the ability to do that without getting in their way. And so that's what the Republican Party stands for: less government, lower taxes, so we can allow the free market to flourish. I think that's what we're going to achieve in this bill.
President Trump says no tax on Social Security. Is that going to end up in the bill? No tax on Social Security?
Yes, we're checking all the boxes. He promised no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security, no taxes on, for example, interest on car loans that are made in America. A number of those things are woven into this bill, and we've made all the math work so we can do that.
Let me go to another issue, one that I bring up a lot over my career, is that the tax code. And the tax code is absolutely impossible to follow. I don't know anybody who does his own taxes who makes over $50,000 a year, because you're afraid you're going to go to jail, for one thing, if you do something wrong. Is the tax code ever going to be revised so that we understand what we're doing when we make our commitment to the federal government and pay our taxes?
Yeah, it's far too complicated. You're right, Greta. And a lot of the American people just throw their hands up. They have a hard time. They pay to have their taxes prepared by someone who's a professional. Shouldn't be that way. The Republicans are in favor of simplifying the tax code. We've made that a continuing theme over the years. My first term as a freshman in Congress, we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as you know, during the first Trump administration, and we did greatly simplify the tax code. We have a lot more work to do in that regard, but it's a very complicated and complex thing to do. Every time you begin to go in and tinker with it and edit it down, you have all these big groups and constituents who come in and say that you'll destroy their industry or destroy their community. And that's why politically it's a difficult thing. But we're continuing to chip away at that to make it simpler. I think in this bill, what we'll do to extend the Trump-era tax cuts is going to be critical for the economy. We believe this is going to be jet fuel for the economy. It will also send a very important signal of stability, Greta, to the bond markets and the stock market, to let people know that Congress is on the job. We're taking care of this. We're going to revive the American economy, and we're going to do it in a way that's fiscally responsible, that we don't dig further deep in the hole of deficits and debt. And that's a really important principle for us to maintain, and we're working on it hard here every day.
I don't think the only way you're going to get Congress to change the tax code to simplify it so everybody understands it is if you pass a law making members of Congress having to do their own taxes and giving them 2 weeks to do it, because it's absolutely, the code is so disgraceful and complicated. All right, immigration. Will there come a time when there'll be immigration reform that's simplified and that recognizes the people we want to come to this country and then want to keep the people out of this country who shouldn't be here?
Yes, there's some stark contrast between the Republicans and Democrats on this. We're working very hard, President Trump and his administration working very hard to deport so many of the dangerous criminal illegal aliens. We want them all out of the country, round them up and deport them. They came in on that open border over the last 4 years, and as President Trump rightfully says, probably 20 million illegal aliens came in over that 4-year period. It'll take us a long time to resolve that. But we get the dangerous criminal illegal aliens out. We have to turn our attention to the remainder of the issue and figure out how to resolve it. There's a lot of migrant workers who work in various industries, construction, hospitality, for example, some of the other industries, agriculture. And they're essential workers, but we need the work visa program to be shored up as well. We've got to strengthen that because it's a critical part of the economy now. So comprehensive immigration reform is a very complex thing. You touched on the two probably most complicated things in Congress, the tax code and immigration. But we're working on it. We've got our sleeves rolled up, and we understand there's got to be real reform. I've been working on this since I got to Congress almost 9 years ago. It takes a long time to get a big comprehensive bill done, but I think there's a lot of appetite for us to fix this. Not just nibble around the edges, but get to the root of the problems. And I think we're going to have to do that, and we should do it in a bipartisan fashion.
Well, those two issues really dog the American people, whether it's crime for who comes into the country, whether it's fentanyl coming across our border, whether it's workers who we want to come here and be our neighbors and help, mobilize our economy on the immigration side. And then on the tax side, small business owners can't even do their own taxes, so they're strangled. So those are two really important issues that could really help the American people if we could get it straightened out.
Completely agree. And the Republican Party is the party to do that. I mean, we're the party for fiscal responsibility and free markets and human dignity, among other principles. And those are the things that are reflected in those policies. So you'll see us continue to work on that.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Good luck with your bill.
Thanks, Greta. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.